Okay, so following on from our lesson on solving quadratic equations, that was all focused on factorising, so breaking into a double bracket. That's not always possible, and so for the times that is not possible, we have what we call the quadratic formula. Okay, so quadratic formula is given to you in your formula sheet in the exam, so you don't have to worry about learning it off the top of your head, and it is this. So x equals negative b plus and minus, okay, I'll come to that in a wee second, the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, okay, and that is assuming that we have ax squared plus bx plus c. So a, b and c are whichever numbers are attached to your x squared, your x, and your floating number on the end are a, b and c in that order. Obviously, if you only have x squared, then that is just 1, okay? So there's always an a, b and a c value. Just be aware that if there's no number written down, it means it's 1, okay? So let me show you a quick example of this, okay? So what we're going to do is solve x squared minus 2x minus 10 equals 0. Again, similar to yesterday, has to be equal to 0. Okay. Correct to 2 decimal places. That's your kind of clue. If you see this, correct to 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures, whatever it is, that tells you that you're going to have to round it. It's not going to be a number you're going to be able to get without a calculator, not being able to do it without this quadratic formula. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to set up and say that, well, x, so our solutions, is minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and in this case, we've got a equals 1, b equals negative 2, and c equals negative 10. Okay, so all we've got to do here is negative b, so that becomes just 2 rather than negative 2, plus or minus negative 2 squared, remember to put the bracket around that in your calculator if you're typing it in, minus 4 times 1 times negative 10, all over 2a, a is 1, so it's just over 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're just going to tidy this up a wee bit. Okay, so negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 10 gives us 44 over 2. What we're going to do now, this plus and minus, remember with quadratics we're used to having 2 answers, okay? So what we're going to do is split this off and say that, well, for one of them we're going to use the plus, and for one of them we're going to use minus, okay? From there you just key it in, so 2 plus root 44 all over 2 gives us 1 plus root 11, but we'll call that 4.3166, and it continues on for a bit. Remembering that question said 2 decimal places, so we're going to say 4.32. And there's one of our answers, and all we've got to do now is go back in, change that plus to a minus, and this time we get negative 2.3166. And again, 2 decimal places, so 2, negative 2.32. Okay, so there's your first example done, and you can see there that it really is just a case of put the numbers in the right places and go from there. Okay, the things to bear in mind here are, just remember, a, b and c come from x squared, x, and then the number in the end. They may be in a different order, so you have to make sure that they come from the right terms. You also need to make sure it's equal to 0, similar to what we looked at in the last lesson. If you have, say, something equal to 2, you need to take 2 off both sides to make it equal to 0 before you can do this. Okay, however, you plug the numbers in, you go from there. It's relatively straightforward.